am the youngest person and I represent one of the youngest companies as compared to the illustrious histories of these companies. We don't have such a long history. But to give you a little bit of a background, our company started with hotels. So we have a hotel in Shillong, in Tura, and Cherrapunji. We are building more. We are building one at Allahabad and one at Jabalpur. When we realized that the Indian consumption story is okay, a lot at the hotel side, but also a lot more on the food side. And if you had to grab a larger chunk of the consumption story on the food side, it was more at the QSR 150 rupee ticket size rather than, you know, doing a very big fine dining or casual dining hotel restaurant where a guest would have to come in and compulsorily spend a lot of money, which is not the major chunk of the market. And when they talk about that the number of eat outs per week has increased from, you know, 1.5 to 3.5 and will go up to 8 and will go up to 9 in 2000 and something, then that will be more on the QSR side than on the fine dining side. Just obviously because, you know, for lack of time, for lack of money, because you don't want to eat out every day at a fancy place. When we decided to get in the QSR space, we had the option of building our own brands. We're fairly experienced in hospitality, in food and beverage, so, you know, we could make a decent effort at building our brand if we look at that. But then we thought that we haven't got that kind of understanding in our country to do the food and beverage business on the scale which is required to kind of impact our country. And there are very few countries in the world which are like large enough geographically to compare with us, because, you know, that oft repeated thing, India is not a country, it's a subcontinent and so on. But the US is one of those countries which is geographically large enough, and okay, population wise maybe not so much, but in terms of the addressable population, you know, the so-called middle income group who can afford us in India, it's similar. So we looked at brands from there, and what we wanted to do really was make a bouquet of master franchise options which we had, which complemented each other and which had an ability to help the other brand. So we're in an interesting position actually, because we are master franchisee and we are also master franchisor for Forever Yogurt. So we have the rights for India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar, Bhutan, and a couple of other countries. So for those countries, we will actually be granting the right rather than taking it. For India, we've taken it and we will grant area development and smaller areas. So why we chose these brands? We chose Forever Yogurt because India is a great yogurt market, I think, because, you know, ambient temperatures are high. We have a 2-month winter in most places. As a nation, we are a yogurt eating nation. You know, every mother tells her child, eat dahi, right? It's good for you. So those two things combined to make a healthy frozen dessert, I think it's a great option. So that's why we took Forever Yogurt. We took Quiznos because we think that in the sandwiches segment, there is a lot of potential in the country. So we have the Quiznos rights. And then we took a brand called Great American Cookies, which is a cookie brand from Atlanta. And then we took these three together and created Polo Foods. So the idea is to leverage one platform where we have a single supply chain, single HR, and whatever else which is the back end. Like for any business, right, most of the work is behind the counter. What you see at the storefront is only 10% of the work which has gone into building any business. So that behind the counter business, if we can leverage multiple brands, then you can create a lot of synergies. And that's how we want to go forward with our franchisees also. We'd like to offer them this bouquet and say, okay, take one location where you do 3 brands or 2 brands depending on what that location can support, and try to maximize resource. So in India, there's that thing, right, that in food and beverage, we work for our landlords. The food and beverage, the restaurateurs don't make as much money as the landlords do from that restaurant. So if rental is such a big expense, why don't you cut the back area of the 3 brands, use 1 cold room, and then have 3 front areas. So with that premise in mind, we assembled this bouquet, and we look to add more brands to this portfolio as and when we find interesting options. That's all I have to share. Thanks.